How do we build sustainable and long-term issue-based organizing structures that live beyond individual campaigns? There are some of the political questions that together we need to address. There's no more, the threat of fascism. It's here. So Bernie is looking forward and saying, well, we got him in large part because the Democratic Party, maybe he's come to the realization this isn't fixable. This isn't reformable. Hey, it's Jordan. I am in Flint, Michigan, East Palestine, Ohio, Tumwa, Iowa. Please support the only independent outlet on the ground covering what the corporate media covers up. Hey folks, it's Jordan. Special video over the weekend here as I just read an email from one Bernard Sanders that I think might be hinting at something. I don't want to oversell it. I don't want to, grossly speculate, but it sure seems that Bernie's tone after the Democratic Party lost once again for the second time in 8 years to a used car salesman seems to be shifting finally away from the Democratic Party. I'm going to read most of this email to you. Let me know what you think in the comments. Sure seems like he's hinting at the spry age of 83, starting a new political party. That's what it reads to me. I'd love to know what you think. Here's the email. Dear Jordan. No, it wasn't individually sent to me. It's an email list. Tough times. American people understand that our economic and political systems are rigged. They know that the very rich get much richer while almost everyone else becomes poorer. They know that we are moving rapidly into an oligarchic form of society. The Democrats ran a campaign protecting the status quo and tinkering around the edges. Trump and the Republicans campaigned on change and on smashing the existing order. Not surprisingly, the Republicans won. Unfortunately, the quote change that Republicans will bring about will make a bad situation worse and a society of gross inequality even more unequal, more unjust, and more bigoted. Will the Democratic leadership learn the lessons of their defeat and create a party that stands with the working class and is prepared to take on the enormously powerful special interests that dominate our economy, our media, and our political life? Highly unlikely. They are much too wedded to the billionaires and corporate interests that fund their campaigns. Given that reality, where do we go from here? That's a very serious question that needs a lot of discussion in the coming weeks and months. How do we expand our efforts to build a multiracial, multi-generational working class movement? How do we create a 50-state movement? Keyword, movement, not politics, based on the Electoral College and, quote, battleground states. How do we deal with the Citizens United and the ability of billionaires to buy elections? How do we recruit more working class candidates for office at all levels of government? Should we be supporting independent candidates who are prepared to take on both parties? First time I've ever heard him say anything like that. Let me repeat. Should we be supporting independent candidates who are prepared to take on both parties? How do we better support union organizing? How do we put together listening sessions around the country that intentionally seek input from people who did not vote for Democrats in the last election? How do we best use social media to build our movement and combat the lies and disinformation coming from the billionaire class and right-wing media? How do we build sustainable and long-term issue-based organizing structures that live beyond individual campaigns? There are some of the political questions that together we need to address, and it is absolutely critical that you make your voice heard during this process. Not me, us. That's the only way forward. Now, a few things, and smash that like button, share this important video so we can get it out to the masses. It's going to be easy, and it would certainly get clicks for the folks who will, like to call Bernie a sellout and a fraud. As I said for years, I'm not going to throw the baby out with the bathwater. I wasn't particularly pleased with what Bernie was doing in Biden's term. I think it was naive to work with Biden because all you were going to get was small ball incremental change. And I would have liked to see the Bernie that was outside the White House protesting during Obama's administration, things like Standing Rock and Obama's, going along with the beating up and police battering Native Americans at Standing Rock. Bernie did not do that under Biden. He took a different tactic that lost him a lot of support. With that said, I never thought it was smart or particularly wise or particularly brave or clever or to call him a sellout or a fraud. just because you disagree with the current strategy doesn't mean you throw out 40 to 50 years of him living on an island on his own, fighting the good fight for things like Medicare for all, free college, saving the planet, anti-war. This man, regardless of what you think of him now or what you think of how he operated and behaved under the Biden administration, is in a lot of ways the reason a lot of you watching got involved in the first place in politics, or came out of hibernation after years of checking out. But I do find this particularly interesting because I'm not a psychologist, but I've covered politics for a long time, and I've covered Bernie for a long time. And what I think is important to recognize, the two times that he dropped out, in 2016 and then in 2020, where a lot of people were upset at him for endorsing Hillary, were upset at him for endorsing Biden. Whether you like it or not, the reason he did so was genuine on his part. He has family that died in the Holocaust. He truly believed Trump was a fascist. He truly believed that Trump was an autocrat or is an autocrat. And he thought that threat was bigger than, blowing things up, running as a third party, which he could have ran as a Green Party candidate in 2016. Jill Stein basically gave it to him on a silver platter. He thought Trump was a more short-term, immediate threat. Whether you agree with him or not is besides the point. That was his calculation, and that's why he went around campaigning for Hillary and went around campaigning for his good friend Joe. Well, that's over with. Trump's going to be president again. And unless something really goes wrong, which, to be clear, I wouldn't put it past Trump to try to serve more than 2 terms, Trump's up after this. There's no more, the threat of fascism. It's here. So Bernie, in his mind, I can't get in his mind, I would assume, is looking forward and saying, well, we got him in large part because the Democratic Party, maybe he's come to the realization this isn't fixable. This isn't reformable. This isn't, just a good relationship away with the president, if it happens to be a Democrat, from getting what we truly need. Maybe he's realizing at the young age of 83, going to be 84, going to be 84 next year. Maybe he's finally realizing, there is no reforming. There is no taking over a party that's fundamentally rigged from the top, from billionaires, from Wall Street, from the fossil fuckers, from big oil. Even when you win, you're going to lose. Even when you're on the brink of winning, which he was in 2020, they're going to go take out every stop to stop you at a progressive. Even if he got in there as president, I'm sure he's smart enough to realize it would be the fight of a century to get anything he wanted done. So I think with, I don't want to say the threat of fascism is gone. Trump's going to be president. I think he's offering and threatening a lot of fascistic things. I also think we already have a lot of fascism in this country brought to you by both parties. But I think in Bernie's mind, all right, well, if you held your tongue, if you held your nose, bit your tongue in 2016 and 2020, if you went around the country putting a fake smile on your face for Hillary and Biden to stop Trump, well, you failed. Well, you succeeded once, you failed now. So Trump's no longer the reason to go along with the Democratic Party if you're Bernie Sanders. And this isn't the first time he has hinted at we need to have a discussion over the coming weeks. We need to ask a lot of questions as a movement. He started saying that after Trump won this time. He came out very forcefully saying the Democratic Party abandoned the working class. I will tell you, because I was on the campaign trail, I have it from good sourcing, Bernie offered to campaign with Kamala Harris. Her campaign basically turned him down. Instead, wanted to go around campaigning with Liz Cheney, when Bernie Sanders, who is a lot more popular with anyone and everyone than Liz Cheney, he offered. Harris's campaign turned her down. Think that might have helped in Michigan and Wisconsin and Pennsylvania. I don't know if she would have won, but certainly would have helped, particularly with young people. So I can't get in his head, but when he is talking about maybe we need to start supporting independent candidates, maybe we need to go around having listening sessions around the country, maybe we need to create a 50-state movement, which infamously the Democratic Party abandoned the 50-state strategy years ago when the DNC focused on let's try and become a coastal party for upper middle class elites and just target, demographics that we think specific demographics only care and only vote on one or two things, like Latinos, the Democratic Party thought only voted on immigration. Black voters, they thought, mainly vote on voting rights and things like that. I think Bernie Sanders is telling us something here. It might be a lot of huffing and puffing that manifests to nothing, or he's 83. He just won re-election. You have to assume he doesn't plan on sticking around the Senate till he's 100. Maybe, just maybe, he wants his legacy to be starting a third party, starting a brand new political party. I don't know what it would be called. I don't know what it would look like. I don't know what his involvement would be. But at the end of the day, sure, a lot of people got a bad taste in their mouth because of Bernie's going along with Biden. But let's be real, and let me know what you think in the comments. If Bernie Sanders came out tomorrow and said, let's start a brand new party, call it the progressive party, call it I don't know, the populist party, whatever you want to call it, the working class party, you wouldn't be energized. You wouldn't sign on to organize. You wouldn't go to the meetings. You wouldn't chip in $27, whatever it is. I think you would. We could live in the past and be unhappy that he endorsed Hillary and he endorsed Biden and he supported Harris. Or you could say, hey, everyone's been calling for a third party forever and ever. If he's going to actually finally sign on to the dotted line, isn't it better late than never? Because I do think we need leaders, even if they're 83 years old. No, he might not be the candidate for that third party, but he could galvanize millions of young people into that third party. I think Bernie Sanders could message to these young bros that ended up voting for Trump a hell of a lot better than Harris could. Harris didn't even try. She wouldn't go on Rogan. I think Bernie Sanders could message to those Latinos that ended up shifting to Trump a hell of a lot better than anyone in the Democratic Party now can to move over to a third party. And by the way, it's not as an uphill climb as you think. I mean, I think 2 years ago, 58% polled said they would be open to a third party. That's a huge number. 58% of Americans are open to a third party. 69% of independents, 53% of Democrats, and 48% of Republicans favor creation of a third party. So the appetite is there. If you go across America, and I have, frankly, the majority of people on the left, on the right, independents, agree. Let me restate, agree that we need universal health care. We need free college, that the climate crisis is real, that the income inequality in this country is out of control, are fed up with the corrupt banks, fed up with corrupt big pharma, fed up with our purchased corrupt government. So I personally think at the end of the day, Bernie Sanders is telling us something, folks. Bernie Sanders is telling us something. I want to play this clip, which I think tells it all. And I hope Bernie Sanders is watching. Watch Bill Clinton. Watch Bill Clinton's answer when challenged on Bernie Sanders saying the Democrats lost because they weren't progressive enough.
Where is the Democratic Party going from here? Because Senator Bernie Sanders, who doesn't even belong to the Democratic Party, says that the party wasn't progressive enough. Do you see it that way?
No. I mean, look at not progressive enough. The infrastructure bill. There's 60,000, I think, projects underway. They'll soon be up to 100. And the CHIPS bill. They're all over America. And interestingly enough, both those bills, a majority of the investments have been in rural red areas. So no, I don't think, I think he means by that we should have been more against big corporations. And if you take a poll, you find people in both parties really do favor that. That's why we can always pass vote on raising the minimum wage in a red state.
Boy, Bill looks like he needs a nice vacation to perhaps Jeffrey Epstein's island. What do you say? Bernie, he might be out of the party. Hillary might be out of the party, but let's be real. Their ideology is still running the party. Their donors are still running the party. The very donors that put Bill Clinton in the White House and Hillary and Nancy and Chuck and all these corporate Democrats, they're still running the party. They're still the reason that all we're getting from Democrats is, hey, here's a tax credit. Here's a 1-year child tax credit that we don't have the courage to fight to extend. We'll run on minimum wage, but not actually fight to pass it. And the parliamentarian actually runs the country. And here's billions to Israel and Ukraine and every other country on the map so that we could grease Northrop Grumman, Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, Boeing's coffers. Maybe, just maybe, Bernie is finally realizing there's no reforming this. Perhaps there's not even taking it over. The only way to destroy it is to build your own party. I don't know if it would happen, but I'd certainly love to cover it. We will stick with it. We will follow very closely. We will criticize Bernie when necessary, but we will also credit him when warranted. And I am encouraged by what he's saying. Please support Status Coup for as low as $5 a month. If there is a third party, somebody's going to have to be out there on the ground covering it. And I'm proud to say I have interviewed more third-party candidates than just about any other independent outlet in America. I've interviewed libertarians. I've interviewed independents. I've interviewed Greens. I interviewed Cornel West, Jill Stein, Matthew Ho. Please support real, investigative, independent journalism for as low as $5 a month.